Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about something that I saw. It's really interesting to me, because you guys know I talk with Alex Viada quite a bit. I love what he does. I have a little bit of a man crush there, no homo. And his whole concept of cross-training athletes and building better athletes who are amazing at strength, endurance, everything all at the same time. And someone else accepted like one of the challenges that he's discussed and has achieved it. I'll link that down below, and I want to have a little discussion on that. And it's something I linked up on the fan page for some discussion. And that's the 666 challenge. And I think something like that exemplifies what an elite level strength athlete really should be as an athlete, not necessarily just say a power lifter. And that's the ability to do something like squat 600 pounds raw, then deadlift 600 pounds raw, and then go run a mile in 6 minutes or less, back to back to back. To me, that is an example of the sort of goals I would love to reach myself, of better overall athleticism, and actually trying to be really good and just be the best that you can be. And I think that sort of thing is awesome. And I've heard some people try to say, well, some of these aren't that impossible to achieve. A lot of guys can squat 600 pounds. A lot of guys can run a 6-minute mile. Yeah, but how many people can do both? For example, there's runners out there who run a 5-minute mile. How many 5-minute mile runners do you know who, if you put them under 600 pounds, would be able to walk? How many of them would get stapled to the floor and be in an ambulance when they tried to do it? So my question becomes, how fast can a 5-minute mile runner run in an ambulance? He can't do it. And so the ambulance might make the mile in less than 6 minutes that he's riding in, but he can't. So he fails the challenge. How many 600-pound squatters are really fat and have no conditioning out of the 600-pound squatters out there, the hundreds of them? Most of them. So therefore, most of them couldn't run a 6-minute mile, and maybe some of them they can. Let's say your max squat is 600 pounds and your best ever mile is 6 minutes. Can you do those three things back to back? Probably not, because your work capacity is going to be diminished right after hitting those max lifts. So we still have someone who can't complete something like that. And that's why something like that is a good balance. That's what you should be shooting for someone to be a really good American football player or a rugby player. Any of these serious field athletes that have to be strong and fast and be well-rounded athletes to be at the top of their sport. This is the sort of challenge we should be looking at to build athletes like that. Can you get them to do stuff like this? And someone else pointed out that for maybe a more serious runner who isn't going to carry the same body weight, maybe a 5-5-5 challenge would be a better choice for them. And that's good too, because in all honesty, if someone can squat 500 pounds, deadlift 500 pounds, and run a 5-minute mile because they're at a slightly lighter body weight, well, that's pretty damn good also. I would say that's achieving a degree of excellence. So I love seeing stuff like this out there. I love seeing people try for stuff like this. And a lot of people say, well, I care about bodybuilding and being aesthetic. And hey, that's your right. But look at it this way. If you were to reach a challenge like that, aren't you going to reach those kind of goals anyways? Because in order to squat 600 pounds and deadlift 600 pounds, you got to have a hell of a lot of muscle mass. Unless you're that 1 billion extremely rare genetics with those amazing leverages, you can't do that while you're tiny. You're going to have a lot of muscle. Well, if you're carrying a lot of muscle, you can't run a 6-minute mile right after a heavy lift. If you're carrying much body fat, you're going to have to be relatively lean to pull that off. So you've got muscle mass, you've got leanness. The only thing you might be lacking is arms and side delts. Throw in some curls and some side laterals with training for something like that, and you've got your aesthetics. So you can have it all with this sort of thing. And I love seeing stuff like that, because that, to me, that is fitness. Say even the 5-5-5 challenge that the other guy presented, well, that's an example of awesome fitness. To me, that's fitness. That's the sort of things I would love to achieve myself, that I'm working towards and getting closer to my goals. I'm not anywhere near my goals yet, but getting closer towards. That's the sort of stuff I consider to be fitness. To me, that's fitness. That is fitness, not someone being contest lean for a bodybuilding show who's weak and slow and emaciated at that time. That's not fitness. This is fitness. Someone who can complete that 5-5-5 challenge or the 6-6-6 challenge, that is elite level fitness. All right, guys, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go. Oh, Mount Bicepius.